The joyous celebration masked a dark secret: Kofi's family heirloom, an ancient statue carried by a terrible curse. Amma sensed the danger, while their son Yao grew curious. Strange events began to unfold, threatening to tear their family apart. Could they break the curse before it's too late? The vibrant sounds of drums and laughter filled the air. The whole village gathered to celebrate Kofi's inheritance of the family heirloom. Under the golden African sun, Kofi stood proudly at the center, holding an intricately carved wooden box. This heirloom, a symbol of their lineage, had been passed down through countless generations. Today, it was Kofi's turn to inherit it. His wife, Amma, stood beside him, a smile masking a deep-seated unease. Their son, Yao, watched from the edge of the crowd, his rebellious spirit evident in his distant gaze. As Kofi opened the box, revealing a beautiful but enigmatic artifact inside, a strange chill swept through the gathering. The air seemed to crackle with an unseen energy, and Amma's unease deepened. She could not shake the feeling that this heirloom carried a dark secret, one that had now been passed on to her family. Kofi lifted the heirloom high, showing it to the assembled villagers. It was a small, intricately carved wooden statue of a lion, its eyes inlaid with tiny, glittering gems. The crowd cheered, unaware of the dark history behind the object. Amma's smile faltered as she glanced at her husband and then at the heirloom. She felt a strange, almost malevolent energy emanating from it, and it made her shiver. The celebration continued into the night. Music, dancing, and feasting brought joy to the villagers. Kofi, Amma, and Yao joined in, trying to forget the unsettling feeling that the heirloom had brought. But even as they laughed and danced, a shadow seemed to hang over them, unseen by all but Amma. Days turned into weeks, and life in the village continued. However, strange occurrences began to plague Kofi's household. Objects moved on their own, shadows flickered menacingly, and an inexplicable sense of dread filled their home. The once joyful family celebrations turned into nights of fear and confusion. One evening, Amma was preparing dinner when she heard a strange noise from the living room. She walked in to find the heirloom statue lying on the floor. Even though she distinctly remembered placing it on a high shelf, she picked it up, her fingers tingling as she touched the cold wood. As she set it back in its place, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching her. "Kofi, the statue fell again," Amma said, trying to keep her voice calm. "It's just a statue, Amma," Kofi replied, his voice gentle but firm. "There's no need to worry." But Amma couldn't let it go. She began to notice more strange things happening around the house. Doors would creak open by themselves, and at night she could hear whispers in the darkness. She tried to talk to Kofi about it again, but he remained skeptical. Meanwhile, Yao, drawn by the mystery and driven by his rebellious nature, began his own investigation. He spent hours in the village library, reading old books and talking to elders about the heirloom. He discovered that the statue had a long and dark history. It was crafted by a vengeful sorcerer who infused it with dark magic, cursing it to bring misery and strife to its bearers. The elder warned Yao of the dangers, but Yao, intrigued and defiant, decided to delve deeper. "Be careful, Yao," the elder warned. "The curse is powerful and dangerous." "I'll be fine," Yao replied confidently. "I just need to understand it." Amma, desperate to protect her family, joined Yao in uncovering the heirloom secret. Together, they discovered ancient texts and forgotten rituals that hinted at a way to break the curse. As they delved deeper, the strange occurrences intensified, straining their relationship with Kofi, who remained skeptical and increasingly isolated. One night, as Amma and Yao were poring over an old manuscript, they heard a loud crash from the living room. Rushing in, they found Kofi standing at the shattered remains of a vase. His face was pale and he looked at them with wide, frightened eyes. I saw it move. The statue. It moved by itself. Amma and Yao exchanged a worried glance. They knew they had to act quickly if they were going to save their family from the curse. Kofi, we need to perform the ritual, Amma said firmly. It's the only way to stop this. Kofi nodded, finally convinced by the undeniable evidence before him. Together, the family began to prepare for the ritual. They gathered the necessary ingredients and set up a protective circle around the statue. As they worked, the house seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. Shadows twisted and writhed around them, and the whispers grew louder, almost deafening. Amma's voice wavered as she chanted, but Yao squeezed her hand, giving her the strength to continue. Kofi, whose skepticism shattered, threw himself into the ritual with all his might. He chanted the words with a fervor he didn't know it possessed, his voice joining Amma's and Yao's in a powerful united chorus. The statue's glow intensified, and the room shook as if the very foundation of their house was being torn apart. The family huddled together, their hands clasped tightly as they poured all their energy into breaking the curse. In a final desperate push, they shouted the last words of the ritual. There was a blinding flash of light and the dark energy dissipated. What was left of the highly charged atmosphere just a few minutes ago was replaced by a sickly calm. Could it have been that easy? Amma thought to herself. Had they defeated the spirits? If so, why did she still have a chill down her spine? The tension in the household grew with each passing day. Kofi, Amma and Yao were constantly on edge, anticipating the next strange occurrence. The heirloom's curse seemed to be growing stronger, feeding off their fear and anxiety. Every night, the whispers grew louder and the shadows more menacing. One stormy night, the family gathered in the living room, huddled together for comfort. The rain pounded against the windows and the lightning flashed, illuminating the room with an airy light. The heirloom, now placed in a locked cabinet, seemed to pulsate with a dark energy. We have to do something, Amma said, her voice trembling. We can't go on like this. But what can we do? Kofi replied, frustration evident in his voice. We've tried everything. We need to finish the ritual. Yao said firmly. We were close last time. We can't give up now. Kofi nodded, realizing that his son's determination was their best hope. Together, they decided to perform the ritual again, this time with even more resolve. They gathered the necessary ingredients and set up the protective circle around the cabinet. As they began to chant, the room filled with an oppressive darkness. The air grew thick and the whispers became deafening. Shadows twisted and writhed around them as if trying to break through the protective circle. Amma's voice wavered, but she forced herself to continue. Kofi and Yao joined her, their voices strong and united. The heirloom's glow intensified, and the room shook as if the very foundation of their house was being torn apart. We can do this, Yao shouted over the noise. We have to keep going. The family poured all their energy into the ritual, their hands clasped tightly as they chanted the ancient words. The heirloom's glow grew brighter, and the room seemed to vibrate with dark energy. Just when it seemed like they might succeed, a loud crash echoed through the room. The cabinet doors burst open, and the heirloom flew out, hovering in mid-air. The family stared in horror as the statue pulsed with a malevolent light, its eyes glowing with an airy red hue. We have to finish the ritual, Amma cried, a voice desperate. Don't give up! Kofi and Yao nodded, their resolve stronger than ever. They chanted louder, their voices merging into a powerful united chorus. The heirloom shook violently as if fighting against the ritual. The room grew colder and a powerful gust of wind swept through, threatening to extinguish the candles they had lit for protection. The family huddled closer, their hands still clasped tightly as they continued to chant. We can do this, Kofi said, his voice filled with determination. We have to do this for our family. Amma and Yao nodded, their voices growing stronger as they chanted the final words of the ritual. The heirloom's glow intensified, and the room was filled with a blinding light. The statue shook violently, then shattered into pieces, and the oppressive darkness lifted. The family collapsed to the floor, exhausted but relieved. They had broken the curse, but at great cost. Their home was in ruins, and they were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. As they sat in the midst of the wreckage, trying to catch their breath, they realized that their bond had grown stronger. They had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious. The curse had brought them pain and suffering, but it had also shown them the true power of their love and unity. In the days that followed, the family worked hard to rebuild their home. Kofi, Amma, and Yao spent hours cleaning up the debris and repairing the damage. The villagers, unaware of the full extent of the ordeal, offered their help and support. "We couldn't have done this without you," Amma said to Kofi and Yao one evening as they sat together reflecting on their journey. "We're a family," Kofi replied, his voice filled with warmth. "We stick together no matter what." Yao nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for his parents. Despite the hardships they had faced, they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. But as they settled into their newly rebuilt home, a lingering sense of unease remained. The heirloom's curse had been broken, but the memory of its power still haunted them. They knew they had to remain vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In a distant corner of the village, the remnants of the shattered heirloom lay forgotten, but as the days passed, a strange energy began to gather around them. The pieces slowly moved, pulled together by an unseen force. The malevolent light returned, brighter and more sinister than before. The heirloom was whole again, its curse seemingly stronger than ever. As the family sat together one evening enjoying a moment of peace, Amma felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced out the window, her eyes widening in fear. "Kofi! Yo!" she said, her voice trembling. "It's back!" The family stared in horror as the reformed heirloom pulsed with